up, guys? Jeremiah Scott. I'm a guitar player for Demon Hunter. I'm also a record producer. I mostly do a lot of metal, and I do some rock, and today I get to do some rock, which is awesome because we really get to just jack around and experiment with some guitar tones. And the band that I'm tracking today, they have this amp, and I've never gotten to use this amp before, and I played around with it a little bit the other night, and it seems to have like a lot of cool features that are just way different than the standard amp. But it's the Third Power is the company. It's called the British Dream. We basically have an AC30 on one side and a Plexi on the other. So you got two amps in one, and it's bare bones, simple. You can't mess this up. It's got a bunch of different features that kind of simulate some mastering. So we're gonna basically, whenever you just plug it in, you mic it up, and it's ready to go. And we got the Third Power cab, and we're about to mic this up and do some reamping.
All right, what we got going on today, Jeremiah?
All right, we're about to reamp. We tracked clean guitar direct into the Pro Tools, and we're listening back through an FX for just tracking reasons, but we're going to actually reamp with the real amp because this is the tone that we want to get. And obviously the whole point why you'd want to do that is because we can just track at a quiet volume and experiment and just get all the guitars done, and then you don't ever get married to that guitar tone if your tubes start to get worn out or whatever else. However long it takes for the project to go down, maybe there's like all of a sudden you have a gig in the middle of a recording process. You have to tear down the entire amp, go off and do the gig, come back, and you're not going to be able to get all the stuff exactly the same way, so your tone will slightly change. But we want to have a consistent tone, so we just reamp all at the end, and it's going to be real amps. So we're using the Third Power today, the British Dream, and this is my first time to get to use this. And they come specifically with these triangle shaped cabs, which I think is an awesome design because it's not this boxy shape that is traditional with guitar cabs, which I think that the whole reason why rectangular shaped guitar cabs even came into being was that it was just easy to stack stuff on top of. I think that was more what they're going for, as opposed to like, oh, what sounds the best? Well, what loads into a truck and looks decent on stage? That's probably what they're back the history of the cab. But they kind of just broke that whole thing down and decided to go, well, what sounds better? So he experimented with a lot of different ways to build a cab. So now we have 3 vintage 30s instead of 4. And this cab is supposed to design to just have a much better tone. So anyway, I always like to go 57 and a 421. Those are my standards as far as miking up a cab. We're in a different room. The studio tracking room's over there. I'm going to go through my snake. I've got this reamper that I got a long time ago, and I use it on every record. We're going to go in with either XLR or 1/4 inch. And then this basically replaces what your guitar is. So this would be the guitar. That's the output of your guitar. Go to the input here. And then whenever I just hit play in Pro Tools and run that clean signal back through, it's driving the amp as if you're standing here playing everything. But everything's been edited. All the guitars are edited and nice, and the performance is done correctly. So now we just get our tone, hit record, and then this thing just tracks it down. Also it has a trim knob, which acts as a volume knob on your guitar. You want to kind of like, if you realize that when you plug your guitar that you tracked with into this, it sounds like it's got a certain output to it. And then you can match this with that. But if you just realize your pickups weren't as hot as you wanted them to be, maybe you want them a little hotter, just do that. It's like turning the volume up even more. So it gives you a little extra play, which is really cool with this.
So what you're saying is that it can go to 11.
It actually, I guess I never noticed it. I never noticed that it does, but apparently it does totally go to 11. I found out that like 6 and 7 is, I track a lot with EMG 81s. That is a hot, active pickup setting. And more of a passive will be right up the middle, about 5 or 6. But sometimes, I like to track with way less gain. A lot of people do. It just like clears up the tone. And then, so, on this project, we have a bunch of medium gain rock tones. And then every now and again you'll do like a weird slide or a pinch harmonic, and then the gain's just not enough there. Well, I'll go back through and just punch those, and I'll just bump this up. Now the gain is right back to where it needs to be, where that slide sounds nasty. It's like a boost all of a sudden. Or the little pinch harmonics, like in metal, I do a lot of that stuff. Or whammy bar, die bombs, and then just go back down to that for your rhythm track. I'm actually using a balanced XLR to TRS 1/4 inch. And this will be the output. It's like where you plug your guitar in. And then we're going to start with 6. And if it's just too noisy, we can always just, come in here, back that down. You don't have to really just rely on backing down the gain. Just back that down. I mean, obviously a lot of people know what reamping is, but that's how I do it. There's different reamper boxes, and that's the one I'm going to use. Okay, since this is my first time to use this amp, I'm not going to just start talking like I know exactly what it does, but I'm going to hand it over to Andrew, and he's going to actually explain why this amp is different than just a standard Marshall.
Hey guys, Andrew from Navaeh. This is my Third Power British Dream. Pretty sick amp. I actually was hardcore Marshall for about 10 years. And then I met Jamie from Third Power. He's the owner, designer, creator, mad scientist dude. And he has built my favorite amp that I've ever played on. I've used this amp on, this will be the second time we've used this amp on a record. Typically what I do is I'll go 59 AC for a lot of clean tones and maybe a push clean tone. There's not a whole lot going on here. It's real straightforward. You just got basically, and I'll explain this a little bit more later, but volume is actually your preamp volume. And then you've got a brilliance, which you can switch between, basically give yourself less low end. It's basically like a low cut. And then your top cut here, which is just like the old 59 ACs. Then you got your 68 Plexi. I typically use this for, the distortion, kick in, heavy stuff. Despite what you may think, a 68 Plexi can get pretty heavy, especially because of this little orange glow button here. So if you've dimed it and it's still not enough, click that up and you've got way more saturation, way more sustain, and it sounds a little bit more modern. I typically use it here just because I don't like a lot of gain. I don't really need it. We play, grunge rock stuff, so it doesn't really need to get super heavy. And then of course you've got your tone knobs here, presence, pretty straightforward. Around the back is the special thing. So back here is very special. Now we've got your effects loop here. Won't really matter as far as like which side of the amp you use. This is going to work on either side. Hybrid master is extremely important. Now this is one of the designs Jamie did to effectively, the whole idea of making these is a lot of amps, when you play them, they don't sound like they are on the record. So his idea was to try and get these sounds to sound exactly how they are, mastered, ran through an analog board and mastered to 2-inch tape. So what he created was Hybrid Master. Hybrid Master is essentially your master volume, for lack of a better term. What this will do is it will keep all of the characteristics of your amp as it were if it were dimed out, whatever the case. You've got stage volume, which is full on 40 watts roughly, and then you can go studio, which is an automatic 80% reduction in the literal volume. So it's chilling out the power tubes a little bit, and it'll crunch down your wattage, but you will not lose any tone or any dexterity or any sort of feel in your tone. It will not suck out the balls of your tone like typically happens with the older Marshalls and things. You kind of have to get them at a certain level before they start sounding real ballsy.
Because your preamp tubes are still pushing just as hard.
Right.
It's just your power tubes.
Exactly. And then you can really you can really get in here and kind of, tweak, where the volume wants to be. Typically, most of the places we play, I just leave Hybrid Master the fine tuning all the way up, and I'll just click it down to studio, and sound guys love me because my stage volume is never super high, and I never lose any tone, which is awesome. So tubes, basically just running 2 EL34s. I pretty much let Jamie pick all that stuff out. So cab, 312s. It's vintage 30s. Comes standard in these guys. This cab was actually on the Hailstorm tour. What I love about this is how cool it looks. But the whole idea behind the design is that this inside of here is the same as a studio control room. So it gets rid of a lot of standing waves. They put studio foam and insulation inside the cab to get rid of those standing waves.
Parallel walls.
Exactly.
There's an enemy to studio design.
Absolutely.
And they have no parallel walls now that you got rid of the rectangle.
Exactly. Now, Jamie has redesigned these cabs to be square, so you can put your amp on top of the cab, no worries, and the inside of the design is still a triangle. So, you know, I like how these look, but if you buy a new one, you can't get these anymore. You're going to buy a square one, but it's going to be the same design on the inside.
All right, so here is our clean signal, just the dry right off the guitar that we've been listening to. So that is what is going through the reamper. We're pushing that back out through the converters, and then into the reamp, into the amp, and then you get...
Sounds good!
Yep, and as you can see, so basically for each guitar track, I have a direct line, and then a 57, and then a Sennheiser 421. And so every guitar track has 3 tracks, and I'll just blend between those 2 microphones. Easy.
Welcome to our brief tutorial on how to train oneself for the rigors of the NAMM show. Excessive drinking is an inevitable part of the festivities that take place after hours. With a wealth of activities to choose from day and night, it is unlikely that you will get your full 8 beauty rest.